won World War II, the most devastating and costly of all wars, with a total firepower of 3 megatons. The world's current arsenal of 50,000 nuclear weapons exceeds 20,000 megatons, or nearly 7,000 times the firepower required to win World War II. And a majority of Americans believe they or their children will die in a nuclear war. A nonpartisan group called Pro-Peace wants to change that belief by getting rid of the world's nuclear weapons, and the Great Peace March is its vehicle. On March 1st, 1986,
5,000 Americans will leave their homes, jobs, schools, and families. They'll begin a 9-month walk from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. They'll be joined by millions of people along the way. Together, they'll tell the leaders of the world that nuclear weapons must be abolished everywhere. The time has come for all of us to take our own future into our own hands.
Peace can start with just one step. Small steps become leaps and bounds. A child calls out in a crowd. 3,000 miles we are walking. It's a path to peace we are paving. And believe it or not, as daring as it may seem, it is not an empty dream to walk in a powerful path. Neither the first nor the last great peace march. Life is a great and mighty march, forever for love and for life on the great peace march.
I've always felt a deep compassion for the earth and working for peace. So when I heard about the march, I knew in my heart this is what I had to do.
It was going to be this really together community, and we were just going to walk across the country, and we would get to towns, we'd have showers, everything set up, and we'd get there, there'd be a parade or something, and local officials would come out, and then there'd be entertainment.
So it was going to be Club Med, and I was excited to go to Club Med for peace.
The nuclear arms race is so insane, I felt a need to join others, to make a statement, to make a difference, move my friends, the government, to do something to stop this craziness.
One of my main anxieties was that Doonesbury was going to make fun of us. That was like a big issue to me.
weren't prepared for wind. So we all have our rain gear on us. And there's no rain, thank goodness, right now.
After only 14 days, the proposed 9-month journey, the Great Peace March is dead. Pro-Peace, the founding organization, announced its bankruptcy today, attributing the collapse to an inability to raise sufficient funds to cover their mounting debts. About 500 marchers remain stranded in the Mojave Desert outside Barstow, California.
Or no evacuation procedures whatsoever to get out of here.
Any money.
You don't have the shuttle. I'm talking about money right now.
What are you
have
talking about? You're going to
resources
take him by the
get you
hand
out
and
of
walk
here.
him up to
I'm
Barstow?
talking about if you
I
lose
can show him where the bus
I'm talking
station
about if you
is.
lose all your vehicles, you lose all your communications, you lose all your first aid, and you get out in that desert and you get skumped.
You're talking about two different things. All of a sudden, we're out in the desert. You said you could get him home.
Get him home now.
Anybody can get home from here. The bus station is down the street.
We need a place to say, this is over, it's ended.
Rebirthing
let's sit
takes the time.
and talk and come together and come up with something different, or
else it's going to be mob rule.
Yeah, do you have a water truck? Do you have
The only thing I see is
That's what we need to determine. If we can get donations on that.
We
If
can
it's
put
possible.
cars
I would
in-
love to see the Phoenix
And you
bloom
will.
and fly, I swear.
And you will.
what
You will.
you've jumped to the
Prove me
assumption that
wrong.
Up until that point, what I saw was a structure that was top-heavy, a structure that had taken away the potential of all these amazing minds and bodies out here. And the day that Pro-Peace said, we're not here to guide you across in Motel City, it meant that we started working.
Well, the brothers and sisters here been caught up in confusion and fear. We got so many conflicting stories and worries drowning in our ears. When we got this tangling up our minds, we just need to turn inward and find our true guide who says it's bigger than that. Keep your heart open, you know where it's at.
See, in a sense, Pro-Peace had a structure, at least. I mean, they had a way of doing things. We had to start, from scratch, not only money, but just who does what and what needs to be done. They left us with, there was Zippo.
Can I ask who the meeting is? Are these facilitators, or is this an ad hoc meeting of people concerned about X, Y, Z?
we won't meet in here because there's a meeting here. Are we having this meeting or not?
Let's get back on.
And who's having it?
All right, we're meeting to discuss our next meeting.
You look in that tent there, and my reaction is, shit, I got to cross over 15 pairs of legs to become part of this meeting, and I say, out of hell with it, and I go.
For a decision-making body among this march that would enable this march to become more self-sufficient and more self-directed.
Intended to democratize the march in the most extreme.
Another part of that motion was that we do not empower this board to enact that structure without the approval of the facilitators, and if the facilitators ask for it, approval of the city.
Not being clear is because I'm not completely clear on it.
There are people that want to use Robert's rules, there are people that want to use consensus, and there are people that want to use parliamentary procedure.
We should have a sergeant marching. We should ask.
No.
Wait. Might I suggest that it be a co-facilitator so that
I'd like to make a motion to change facilitators. Do I have a second?
Second.
All we ever seem to do is meet or set up meetings.
Next on the agenda is to set an agenda.
We don't need to necessarily have an agenda.
Is that agreed?
Yes.
Okay. Very sorry. 5 hours of meetings is enough to make one day.
We discuss and we discuss and we discuss.
I think we should try to set
As much of an understanding as there is, I think, of what has been happening in the process, realize that all we ever seem to do is meet or set up meetings. All we ever seem to do is meet or set up meetings.
What happened in Barstow was really a miracle. In only 14 days of meetings around the clock, we managed to make up a whole new structure for the march. A city council with elected representatives, a board of directors, a judicial board to handle personal disputes, and an operations council to coordinate logistics.
Well, it was kind of funny. The organization that remained was one that was kind of anti-authoritarian, and it didn't tolerate too much leadership.
Now that we're more grassroots, we started getting all kinds of donations of equipment and supplies. The people really came through for us. We got a refrigerator truck, water truck, waste disposal truck. I mean, just all this kind of stuff, and it was up to us to put it together and make it work.
I think people got the feeling they could do anything. There were all these things that had to be done, and so people just got together and did them.
I worked the breakfast shift. That meant getting up at 3 a.m. and cooking for 500 to 1,000 people.
When the march left in the morning, about 100 people stayed behind to work.
Somebody had to volunteer for this job of pulling these porta potties. And that's what I came on the march for, because I can't walk.
I worked with preschool children. Parents would leave their children with us before going on the march. Sometimes we did activities on the school buses, and sometimes the kids got to go on field trips.
I worked a couple of days a week on the loading crew, loading up the gear onto the trucks. I never worked so hard in my life, and I never wanted to work so hard.
We had a maintenance crew, which was fortunate because things were always breaking down. They were a pretty wild bunch, but they really kept the march together.
We tried to keep track of as much as we could on computers, which was great until a generator would break down and dump your whole program.
When the march arrived at the next campsite, there was always plenty to do.
The mail holds a lot of things together here on the march, actually. For instance, the lives of the people. The lives of the people who are back in the other part of the country. The lives of the people who are out here in the dust. See our weather resistant. Homing pigeons can't nest. Mail slot, although this thing has seen some bad days.
Besides trying to mooch a shower from someone or find a laundromat, there were always plays and festivals and sports to do.
People went to bars, cafes, mingled with locals. Of course, someone had to stay home and cook dinner.
At night we had educational talks, concerts, videos, but with limited electricity and getting up at dawn, camp got pretty quiet by about 10 o'clock.
It will give us a chance to encourage and pressure the administration in Washington to negotiate on the basis of the Gorbachev proposals, which could end nuclear weapons in the world by the year 2000.
A few reasons. For peace, that's one reason. The second reason is to see Ronald Reagan's house.
I'm just an ordinary person doing something that feels good. I really wanted to walk with Martin Luther King, and I didn't have a chance. It's like, I could do it now. So I did get another chance.
I need the publicity. What do you mean, why?
I was so turned on by the people-to-people approach to solving peace that I thought I couldn't do anything better than to go on to the Great Peace March.
I'm excited that I'm more on the trail to my inner peace than ever before, you know. Haven't really touched that nerve. And hell, when I started the march, I thought, I'll just walk across the country. That'd be cool. I wasn't thinking about Vietnam.
If they were just to stop making half those bombs, they could feed all the poor people. There's a lot of people that are hungry and malnourished and are homeless, you know.
We are here really from a religious point of view, I guess you would say, rather than political or philosophical.
I want to have all kinds of kids, and I want to have all kinds of grandkids, and I want to be remembered. And if there was a nuclear war, none of that would happen. Everything would be shattered, oblivion complete. It'd be a living hell.
I have a kid.
And I've seen all the children we walk past. You look at their faces, and they're children. And they need a world that doesn't have conflict just for the sake of conflict. And nuclear weapons are tools made by old men who think that that is how they're going to settle conflicts, is by waving wands at one another. And you don't settle things by waving wands. You have to talk.
Yeah, I know. We'll get the world after the adults of today do. And we want to keep the world, you know, so that we can get something besides just a big clump of radiation.
The Soviet and the USA got bombs that could blow up the whole world. And they could probably blow up the whole universe. I'm not scared. No, you'll be killed by the radiation. You're not scared. You're not scared to see everybody like everywhere just go bleh. Not until it happens. Well, it's scary because like you're here and then you're not here. Yeah. But you die instantly. Yeah. Not always. Like if you're in your house or something and your life just gets burned. Like you get burned really bad, your face, and then there's nobody there to help you. You just you are, yeah. You're in pain. Yeah. But then you do die. Well, sometimes you don't. I wish Reagan would have a talk with the USSR, the government of it, so they wouldn't have any bombs. They could talk it over. It would be a lot better. Governments can spend a lot of money on a lot of better things than bombs. Yeah, they could look at helping poor people, old people, yeah, and starving people, cure for cancer and all the other diseases that we have, like AIDS and like medical stuff. Yeah, medical hospitals. National debt, and we could use it in a product to get smog out of the world.
Greenpeace and the American Peace Test got an influx of support in the last 24 hours, as 150 members of the Great Peace March arrived in Las Vegas to take nonviolent civil disobedience training in preparation for a protest trip to the Nevada test site tomorrow.
As this is said, nonviolence is not just total passivity.
While we're here, we need to show everyone who's involved with the Great Peace March that we do care and that we are more than just marchers and we are more than just educators. And we need to take this stand at the test site.
I went to parochial school for 12 years and I was a good girl. I never broke any rules. This frame of reference is entirely different from anything I've known my whole life. I never thought I'd be at the Nevada test site, yet I'm happy to be able to do this.
What happens here is I get a physical feeling of sickness. I feel like I'm in a parallel situation to being in Germany in 1938-39. That I'm alive while atrocities are happening.
I can't commit myself to nonviolent principles here, and therefore I'm not going to cross that line and get arrested because I get too angry. When I think that it costs $60 million every time they have a test here, they have one every 3 months, I just can't accept that, and if they tried to arrest me, I wouldn't be able to commit myself to the nonviolent principles that I was taught in the seminary yesterday.
This is not the safest thing anybody's ever done. You may also know that there are 10 trees. Those of you who are tree planters should probably gather around soon, and we'll plant them together. We've got shovels and we've got trees. It is my dream that in the year 2000, this place will be a garden. If this were a paradise, it would create a whole lot more jobs than if it were a place of death as it is right now. It is deadly serious. We have to stop this. This is not the lone voice of a couple of people in the wilderness. It is the chorus of a multitude that wants peace on earth and that cares about everything that lives.
Song that I sing.
Louder!
You can forbid me everything. You can forbid me to sing. You can forbid my tears to flow, and you can stop the song that I sing.
United States conducted a series of airstrikes last night against what the White House called terrorist centers and military bases in Libya. For nearly 10 minutes, the sky over Tripoli was ablaze with explosions from missiles and bombs. It is not known how many people may have been killed.
If we Jews are to reenact the Exodus from Egypt, it is not to remember something that took place thousands of years ago. It is to keep alive in our own hearts the very meaning and essence of what freedom is all about.
The
Great Peace March for Global Nuclear Disarmament is a gigantic, at least a very large, sacramental-like prayer for peace.
I was raised a Christian. I've always considered myself a Christian, which is one of the reasons I came on the march. I consider the nuclear arms race contradictory to everything that Christ ever said and every way he ever lived. The thing I've learned since coming on the march is that you can't take your spirituality and pour it into a bottle and define it in one religion, which is what I was trying to do as I grew up.
Well, let me read it to you. Real peace comes not from marching, but by kneeling before the Lord Jesus. I'm the minister in town here, and every Sunday I preach, and I wanted to get that message across with the marchers as they came in to give them something to think about and furthering their horizons on defining the word peace in their own hearts. But since talking to these people, I have been ministered to by them, listening to their concerns and listening to their message.
Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama.
I'm swimming tonight.
Expected later today. The Soviet Union this morning is still denying the possible deadly consequences of the meltdown at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Fires in the plant are still raging out of control.
Southwest Utah near Zion, 42686. We lost a marcher today. Brown-haired, blue-eyed, hardly come of age. Dead for no good reason, in an accident that seemed to have no point.
Two of our marchers were in a very serious automobile accident while hitchhiking to Zion National Park. Wynn Mattingly and Cindy Carlson. Wynn is in St. George at Dixie Hospital, and yesterday Cindy died.
We circled somberly. Some thought, some cried. And the early sun was strangely cold, glinting off tents and cars and canteens. One marcher's work was done. Our work will go on. For we could all one day be dead for no good reason, in a pointless accident that could be the death of everything.
And if one death can affect us so much now, and then what is a world full of death? How will that affect us? So we keep going.
Today's the day that we cross the Continental Divide. They said we never get across the Mojave, and they said we never get out of California. They said we never get across the Rockies, and here we are. It's perfect weather, it's a perfect day, and it's a lovely day for a walk. See you there.
It's 8.8 to the summit, downhill from there.
More emotionally drained than being at the top of that summit with all of us singing and looking back and looking at all our faces and the flags waving.
Red Rocks was a really beautiful sight, but we had such terrible weather then. I didn't even want to get out of my tent to see Pete Seeger, who came to perform for us. But I finally did, and I'm really glad I did, because that night was magic.
You can survive. Nuclear weapons, you can't. I mean, there's no way you can climb under a tent. There's no way, and there is no such thing as a shield. You think the tent leaks, wait till you see the shield. Yeah, that whole thing. So I think what you're doing is really very important, and people all over America are watching this and your dedication, and I thank you, because a lot of other people may be casual about our whole planet's future, but you aren't, and let's hope you wake them up. Thank you very much for waking up and waking everybody else up.
All the way to Washington. Will you make it? Tell them to make Colorado a nuclear facility. You do that.
In the 80s, it takes much more of a commitment, a personal commitment, to be out here, because I know I would give anything to be able to go with these people for 8 months, but I can't leave my job, and I'm sure a lot of these people couldn't either, but did it anyway, and that is a hell of a thing.
I think the first phase of the Peace March was getting to Denver. And right now we're in the doldrums. We're just out here in the cornfields, and all the schools are out. We're not really being active and going out and doing the education outreach. We are hot, we're tired, we've been doing these 20-mile days. There are no trees, and we all feel we want to go somewhere, just escape and be away for a while, but we don't know where we want to go.
The tent is missing. Here it is. Goddamn way to make a living.
There is God.
Absolutely delicious weather. I think the temperature ran about 90, 95. I think the humidity ran about. A lot of times, of course, the day you say, "Hey, what am I doing here?"
All the shady spots are gone.
I'm just really depressed. I cried myself to sleep last night, and my tent mate and our neighbors were also crying, and we couldn't even sleep. We were sort of tossing and turning and sitting up. I don't know, just there doesn't seem to be any purpose right now. We're walking through these towns, and they have felt like ghost towns. And I think that is doing something to us also, psychologically. The fact that here we are walking these long hot days, we come into a little town where hardly anybody's out on the street. We walk by through little residential areas and you see somebody peering out a window. I think back when we first got into Nebraska, some of us went to a couple of bars and we talked to the local farmers, which was really nice. And the one thing I noticed, though, was that many farmers would say to us, "You're not going to have any impact." And the more I heard them talking about their depressed economy, I began to understand why they were saying that to us.
We are the poorest business people in the world. We have no control of our markets. We just produce. That's all we do. We don't have any say about what we're going to get for our crops after we get them produced, or our livestock, or anything else.
Everything we sell is below the cost of production. These beans are worth about $4 a bushel. It costs about $5.50 to produce them, see?
You don't think that it could be real, that it could really be happening to you, that you're getting this letter, your farm will be foreclosed on.
I hate to see the family farm concept destroyed, and that's what's happening now.
We don't want to give this land up to the corporations. This is settled by pioneer people, and there's still pioneer blood here, and we don't need them in our business.
Farmers have a really covert love for the land, and the pain and the grief of letting go of that is very, very profound and can have really devastating consequences on individuals and on a culture.
We're looking at people's lives and the future of lives, and I see a real close connection between saving a family farm and promoting peace in the world.
What's the use of getting a bigger bomb? What's the use of spending all this money when there's so much hurt going on right here in this country?
To have the peace march on your land here?
Well, I'm happy that they're trying. Everyone has to try something, and how successful they'll be, I don't know. I've had many unsuccessful things in my life that I really believed in, and it sure didn't all work out. But anyway, when people give up trying, then our country, in my judgment, is in trouble.
Somebody type the gear.
You know what locals do when there's a storm like this coming? They get in their car and they drive 10 miles east.
But no, it's like we recognize that this is part of the march. It's having days like this. People who are working were pulling those tractors out of the mud. Were you there this morning?
Yeah.
God. And just to see people accept that, it's like if this day had happened 6 weeks ago, people would have had enough energy to be really pissed off. You know?
I, Karen Anderson, take thee, James Smith, to be my wedded husband.
To have and to hold.
Even though we were marching across the country for global nuclear disarmament, life goes on.
Trash has to be taken out. People have relationships. I wanted to get married amongst my friends, my extended family, and bring the issue of love up more often in our community as we move.
I knew Jim before the march, but living in Peace City really convinced us to get married. We saw such a diverse group of people getting along, adapting, and pulling together because of a common belief, and that was so inspiring. A marriage is a similar thing, two different people making a relationship work out of a common love.
Last fall, when the news hit the Midwest that the Great Peace March was coming to town, some Catholic women religious communities got together and decided they were going to have a Midwest action to meet with the Great Peace March. So the Heartland Peace Pilgrimage is going to take their witness to the Strategic Air Command's headquarters. They'll be trespassing onto the base and risking arrest.
Journey. The act of walking is a movement on a human scale, nothing too threatening about walking, one step at a time with Mother Earth under your feet. The conversion we seek is a change of heart on a human scale, one person at a time.
KGB paid today, kid.
They don't allow religion in Russia.
Do this in Moscow and you get 10 years.
Secular humanism in Russia, but not Christianity.
Here's where the real action is. Our hometown was burned by an atomic bomb.
Yasumachi Genbaku! Mitabi! Yasumachi Genbaku!
May this tragedy never happen again.
Now, kids, you're right out of Soviet Union. Stupid ass. You're gonna get your welfare checks from Moscow?
We are gentle, angry women. We will not be victims. So stop the madness now.
Hey, there's my lesbian shot. I was waiting for you. See you in the gulag, simpletons.
You really hate killing. Come pick an abortion clinics with us. Liars and hypocrites. And may the Lord bless those servants who serve their government well. Those men and women who stood there had to put up with you.
Well, now we can sing the Air Force. We gathered around.
They had a sack.
Many of these people know it. 3 cheers for Zach. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hooray for Zach!
Put the incense on them, that's right.
Put that hex on them.
Penetration, launch on morning and thrust. Till the big boys with their deadly toys reduce us to a nuclear dust. I don't care how big your missile is. I don't care how big your missile is. Got to show those first strike capabilities. Say what? Can't stop, I always got to be on top. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, no. Tension is mounting, I just might have to push the button. Oh, I don't care how
said, I'm all for peace, don't get me wrong. It's just the way that they're setting up their peaceful so-called demonstrations, but yet they go down to the military bases and flagrantly break the law by crossing the barriers and stuff that they're not supposed to, and then they want sympathy from other people, and I just don't agree with that. The way that things are going about with the Peace March, you're not going to accomplish anything. You're not going to get to Washington on November 10th, and the government's going to run out and give you a big kiss and slap you in the back and say, great job. Rush and I decided to lay down nuclear weapons. It's quit. It'll never happen. And I don't care how many times you march, how many times you protest, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
I don't think there's anything we can do that's going to directly dismantle the missiles. So walking it's like the least crazy action I can do. One of the most crazy actions I could do would be to concentrate on my career and forget about working against nuclear weapons and work for a future that isn't going to be there.
Michael came up with something that we're going to do tomorrow morning for Wake Up. Sing it.
4 o'clock.
Cool, I know this.
I know.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do do.
Get up, I know you may be tired, but it's time to motivate. Get up, I know you may be tired, but don't you dare be late. Today we got about 21 miles to go. We're testing out Betty's legs, and so get yourself up, get yourself up. It's gonna be a great day, so get up. Get up.
I talked to them at the grocery store. They said, well, you weren't afraid to talk to us. And I said, no. And they said, go on down. Everybody's just like that. So I came down.
I think Iowa is like a little bit of heaven touched down on earth.
Mom! Hey, Mom!
A lot of them too, and these people have been walking.
Now, what this group from? How far they walk? I know how far they
They're
been.
marching from California to Washington.
I mean, where they started from?
California.
Oh, they made it here.
Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Our government is really wasting a lot of money. And they cut out a lot of programs for poor people that's trying to work. They tell you to get off from welfare and work, and then you get off, then you can't make enough. They don't care. They really don't care, but then they'll waste it for going by a weapon, you know.
America's supposed to be the home, land of the free and the home of the brave. Well, sure, we need to be brave, but we need to be brave right here in our community.
From what I've heard from other marchers, that they say that the people of Iowa have been pretty hospitable.
They've been the best. They really have.
Been meeting you on the roads and giving you food and drinks and swimming pools and that sort of stuff.
Everybody has been waving and coming out and really being there for us.
And you never expected it in Iowa, did
No.
you? Get a lot of never expected it in Iowa.
It's Marcher in the Home program tonight, and you'll learn about what it's like to be on the march, but it's this program where we really touch people. Perfect match. Perfect match, I can see it.
Marcher in the Home was invented in Claremont, California. The Claremont City Council wouldn't let us camp there.
This woman loves you. She's going to take care of you. The question is she returning it?
But the people got together, the churches, the local people, the political groups, they all got together and put us up in their homes. All of us, the entire march. And then the tradition was born.
Are you ready for the grand prize? 5 for dinner, shower, and laundry.
You're doing your own thing, and it's hot out, and our homes are available, and we've got room, and why not?
Dear God, thank you for bringing together all these new friends from different parts of the country, people who have a real involvement in something, have a long time ahead of them. I wish them the best of luck.
We have been living in groups of 500 to 1,500 people, and when we have meals, we just line up, but we don't have this intimacy which we started for. I feel this is family.
Well, Marcher in the Home turned out to evolve into something I think very important. And I've kept in touch with practically every Marcher in the Home I went to, and I think a lot of other people have too.
It's hard to assess how a statement like this feeds into the world consciousness. Any single criterion you use to measure it is just too simplistic. It really is. I can feel that when the human heart speaks out of the deep truth, and what you represent is a deep truth, the truth of the absurdity and imbalance and fear of the culture, that resonates. If it's a pure enough statement, it resonates just like a pebble dropping into an ocean, just on and on and on.
Well, when we were in Iowa, we had several opportunities to help the local farmers. I remember it was a wonderful feeling, very exhilarating to be there and be that close to the land.
Oh, that's hard work.
Reagan work here for a while.
There you go. Hey, look, this guy's from Calcutta.
Yes. Hi.
Water, howdy. There's Coke.
Are any of the farmers in the area politically active or?
Well, they've got a few of these. They don't like the government. They don't like this. They don't like that. But it's hard to organize farmers. Understand?
Do you feel that they basically back Reagan, the Reagan administration?
Oh, hey, I kind of like Reagan myself, even somewhat. You know.
Why?
He's got balls, the old boy. I mean, you know, he cracks the whip, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you know, there's different things going on that he's not the worst guy in the world.
But you don't like the defense budget, right?
No. I mean, you got to carry a big stick like Teddy Roosevelt did, too. Remember? Who wants a hamburger?
So, Jacob, are we doing the work that you would normally be doing? What? Are we doing all the weeding that you would normally be doing?
Yes. He and his brother had to get out there and pull those old dead weeds out among the fence row.
So that's why you're weeding all day, huh? Do you have a day off today?
But
Russia stopped testing. Russia stopped testing.
No, he told you that. You
Well,
think they really
it's a
did?
verifiable event. You can't test a nuclear bomb and hide it. There's technological equipment that can pick that up very easily with all the satellites we have.
Made for corn. Made for corn.
I was going to say Bourbon Street.
I am for a strong defense or whatever it takes to keep this country free. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What does it take? It takes you people walking around, for one thing. And I'm doing my small part here of feeding you so you can walk on, Let's see, we gotta have some more hamburgers, don't we? Anybody want any more hamburgers?
The march had impeccable timing. We arrived in Davenport, Iowa at the same time the Soviet-American peace crews did. They were traveling down the Mississippi River while we were traveling east, crossing over it.
Пусть он землю бережет родную, а любовь Катюши сбережет. Пусть он землю сбережет родную, а любовь Катюша сбережет.
Strange name.
And I've been walking the whole way. I'd like to give you my bracelet. It says peace. I've worn it the whole march. Been marching for 2,000 miles. I'd like to give it to you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Marvelous. When people get together, when they understand each other without words. This is what we are striving for.
You say you were over here 15 years ago? For what?
I'm a journalist.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a journalist. That's
And
right.
now you see a little change?
Not a little. Big change.
Oh, is that right?
We want peace. It's good.
It's very easy to learn in Russian. I love you.
Yeah? Я тебя люблю.
Yes, but you say only yellow, blue, bus.
Farewell, my friends, I'm bound for TC. I'm traveling
Yellow,
through
blue, bus. I love you.
Your company has been
love you.
delightful. You do not leave my mind distressed. I go away behind to leave you, perhaps never to meet again. But if we ever have the pleasure, I hope we'll meet in Washington.
General Store, Reagan Information Center. Support? Oh, yeah, he's a local boy, made good. Even the Democrats voted for him.
I grew up here in Polo, and this is 9 miles from the park where Ronald Reagan, the President of the United States now, was once a lifeguard.
I voted for Reagan because, and still I think he did. I'm glad I voted for him because I think he's done a good job so far.
The Peace Walk comes through and you get rejuvenated, and more people or newer people show up at the meetings, because of the Peace Walk again, and you're rejuvenated and you think, well, gosh, maybe it all does make a difference, and so you just keep going, even though it's a real unpopular thing here, because in Reagan's hometown and in this area, it's really a conservative area, and it's not fun being called a communist when you know that you're not.
Of course, what the nuclear bombs does, make jobs, for people. That's what making bombs does. Provides work, unemployment, in my opinion.
In Dixon, at a given signal, we all froze to symbolize the moment of a bomb being dropped.
The first atomic bomb was dropped. And as hideous as that was, to all of us overseas at that time, the only thing I can think about is it saved our lives. That's all there was to it. But naturally, I have since developed into a very, very avid pacifist, there's no question about it. And certainly against atomic warfare.
I don't think nuclear power is right because it's just, once it's done, who's going to win by it?
Nobody's going to come out on top.
No.
And we went down to Beipu and on to Hiroshima. And I remember how I felt as an American going there. I almost felt guilty to go to the museum I remember how we went up and rang the bell for peace and felt as though we wanted to work for peace in the world from that experience.
Last night we floated lanterns down the Mississippi River. They were lit by the Hiroshima flame, which we've been carrying since it was passed to us in Los Angeles. The original flame burns in the Hiroshima Peace Museum in Japan and will remain lit until all nuclear weapons are gone from the earth. To me, the flame is a perfect symbol for peace. It can be passed on from one person to the next, and it's fragile, delicate, must be protected.
I want to welcome all of you to the largest nuclear-free zone city in the world.
Well, it's an event. Actually, I always fantasized about walking across the United States. That was one of the things that captured my imagination about this walk.
One of the most effective means of preserving the peace is to prepare for war. My friends, let us remain prepared and strong. Peace, my friends, peace through strength.
Explain. There are certain controls that we do not have over our own sperm. This happens to be one of those conservative genes that I had. I'm not sure where it came from, but here it is.
Had a major conflict between two superpowers, where one superpower gave away his weapons and the other superpower did the same.
The Soviets have stopped testing for a year. Don't you think that the United States should join them, considering that the scientists have said we're able to verify them, or prominent
Well, it
scientific
depends
teams
which
that are
scientists have
Soviet.
said so. First of all, it's
Well, our own
social
scientists.
responsibility.
No, it was
I'm
our
not going to take
scientists.
them.
Well,
They have not
you know
followed
that the
what
Reagan
they said.
administration has said that we are able to verify. Were you aware of that?
No, and that's not the case.
What is the case?
The case is that they have not agreed to mutually neutral on-site verification. That's
Yes,
what we've
they
been
have.
asking for
No,
for
they
20
did.
years.
They
And that's
have
what the
agreed to
House passed. They said that if we could get on-site verification. Well, I don't know if we can get that. I rather doubt it.
Well, they recently did agree to on-site verification.
Gorbachev said he would. It never came out in print. It hasn't been agreed to. It hasn't been signed. That's all
It
I
has
know.
been. It has come out in print.
Has not been signed. When it's signed, and when we have monitors on their test locations,
Then you would
I'll be
support a
happy.
test ban treaty.
Certainly.
All right.
But
Let's
it
get a
won't
test
happen
ban
anytime
treaty.
soon.
If I wasn't at work, I would be in it.
Peace March.
You want to say it again? Watch my lips. Yes, a nuclear war can be fought and won.
And so the issue, ladies and gentlemen, is do you have a death wish or a life wish? I got a life wish. I want to make. That's why I like the movie.
Chicago doesn't care. Denver didn't care. You can put your whole damn column together. You can be in perfect precision. You can have drum majorettes. Chicago ain't gonna care. And I'm not sure Cleveland's gonna care. And I'm not prepared for Pittsburgh to care.
How do you know they weren't impressed, though? How do
They
you know
weren't
they
even
weren't
first of all,
impressed?
they weren't
They're
there.
standing in all the large group marching through the
Are we
town.
trying to impress them?
Well, we certainly are trying to make impact with our to get a message across, and you have to get their attention to do it.
Small towns, small cities, fine. It's got nothing to do with Big A. And, I mean, but if we're going to talk about the impact of this thing, the impact is real individual, it's real small, it's real quiet.
If that's what we've done, if that's what we estimated, then we've wasted 9 goddamn months.
That's right. That's right.
Why?
You can't tell me that. There's no way that you can invalidate the little old lady that I talked to on the street the other day. And that was the only little old lady that I talked to all day long. But I'll tell you something. When I spoke to her and I told her my feelings, she was moved. And if that's the only person that I come in contact with, or the only person that I move, that makes this entire trip worthless.
If we accomplish anything that's valuable, that's lasting, have we done anything for global nuclear disarmament? It doesn't change overnight. We live in what I call the Burger King mentality. America wants it now, they want it in 60 seconds, we want it in plastic, and we want to see the accomplishment, it's done. And any lasting change doesn't happen like that. So we're fighting all this baggage we brought with us for our culture, and we have this real, I mean, we're not walking, it's not a mistake. We could fly to DC and have 1 million people at the rally, but we're walking on purpose. We're learning to get in touch, step by step, with those things that last. The evolution is a slow process.
That's the future of the world.
Thanks. Would you like a postcard to write your senator?
Yes, right. Give me one. I'll definitely write one. I'll inspect the needs one.
Oh, that's for your representative.
Okay.
And that's for your senator.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
definitely.
we're trying to get them to cut off funding for nuclear testing.
I can go along
you right
with
about
that.
that? Okay.
The people are the government. And unless people start understanding that, things like Star Wars and all that stuff will continue to happen. Yeah. You know? That's all I got to say. Really.
Presently today in this country, we're experiencing a vast deindustrialization of this country. The billions and billions of dollars that they are spending on this here nuclear armament should be plowed back into the industry of this country, because the only thing that's going to keep this country strong is a strong industry and a strong economy.
First they asked for a concession. We gave them concession. Then they closed us out. No, just like that. 1, 2, 3. The day for the middle class rich is gone. Either you're rich or you perish.
If we can develop nuclear weapons, if we can go to the moon, certainly we can create jobs where people can have a decent living and can live in peace and live with the standards that we have held.
What needs to happen today is that the labor movement, which is over here, and the peace movement, which is over here, need to become one movement of the American people.
Well, thank you.
Trees and Keys is the coin name the march gave to a ceremony we did in town after city after little hamlet across America as we walked. We would be welcomed by the mayor in a little ceremony, and at that time we would exchange some token. And even the mayors that didn't agree with our politics agreed with our purpose and agreed with our behavior.
Your spirituals are darn high. I can't hardly believe it.
No words could possibly even remotely express the deep appreciation that we have.
And thank goodness that 700 of you continued to make this great march.
All I can say is thank you for letting us all know you, and it's been a wonderful time. Thank you.
And then as something to carry on, we would plant a tree. This is what we're marching for, is for a green future for this earth, and not to ever have to worry about nuclear warfare again.
We are gentle, angry people, and we are walking for our lives.
Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. And brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know you got to find a way to bring back love here today. Father, Father, there's no need to
President Reagan refusing to back down on the Star Wars program. The arms deal on the table was the most comprehensive plan to date for eliminating nuclear weapons from the world's stockpile.
What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
Say one thing. Most of our group is now, right about now, walking across George Washington Bridge. This is just a small contingent of the Peace March.
All we care about here, and I speak for the entire East Coast, all we care about today is the World Series.
What we're suffering here is from a national schizophrenia, where people just go on like, business as usual. And the fact is, our lives are ready to be snuffed out within 30 minutes, any day, any hour. And the fact is this is exactly the kind of thing we have to break through.
Thank you so much.
I think it would be patronizing for me to give you advice. I think that you're the one who should be giving advice to the American people. And I think that the greatest advice you're giving America is a reminder that our democracy isn't dead, that it's legal to question authority, and that you can be a proud American in so doing.
About the World Series.
Well, it's interesting to see that there's so many people under 30 that you can trust.
I don't think anybody's going to listen to them, and it's going to make much difference.
Not. Why not? Why not? This is America, you know.
Yeah, it'd be great if they did, but I just don't think
everybody is individual, and everybody has their own way of thinking, and I think what they're doing is great. You know, I think what they're doing is great.
And I think it's great that
everybody's fighting for their own right.
I think you had a draft all the put it in the army and sent it over.
Most people in the world are yellow, are brown, are black, non-Christian, poor, female, and don't speak English. Let the 7/8 speak. Let those who want peace speak. Let those who want justice speak. Let those who want education speak. Let those who want jobs and peace and justice speak. Give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. Give peace. Thank you.
You know, the whole world is like a big puzzle. And we're like, each one of us is a piece of the puzzle. And together, we all fit in and make a whole. We're gonna create a beautiful future.
Yeah, this is a huggy place anyway.
I'm really proud of you girls. At night, sometimes in the middle of the night, I feel like I hear your footsteps, you know. I think, oh yeah, we're all walking together, you know. I love you. You're doing good. Thank you.
You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, 'cause their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picked, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh. Know they love you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Good night.
Well, most of you folks, 400 of you or so, have been together for 9 months now. How do you feel about breaking up?
It's a very intense time right now. People are kind of on this roller coaster. It's very sad to think that we're all gonna be going our own way, because we're like this huge, very close and loving and caring family. And we're gonna go off and do other things together in separate groups, but this will never be again.
Tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasures. I love you so. Dear friends, dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. 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 You have given me such treasures. I love you so. Such treasures. Dear friends, dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasures. I love you so. Dear friends, dear treasures, let me tell you how I feel.
Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Washington, D.C.
We've been waiting 9 months for this. You know what? Tomorrow morning I want to wake up and get a route map and find out where the next site is, and then maybe walk 8 or 9 or 10 miles and then just be with my friends.
I'm glad it's over. I'm tired. I also feel proud. I'm very proud that I was part of the glue that kept the march together so that people could join us today. That feels very good.
I've grown tremendously, and I just know I'm going to work for peace the rest of my life.
It's turned working for peace from an activity to a lifestyle, to a way of being.
We really did it. I can't believe we did it, but we did.
We've talked to thousands upon thousands of people one-on-one, and that's where our impact has been, one-on-one, people that have never been involved before, that have never met a real live peace activist, and all of a sudden we're right there in their town and on their front porch and in their, and not, we learned, yeah, and laundromats, yeah. We went from going to talk to people to going to listen to people.
Iowa City is here!
Back and say, well, okay, I've done my bit. You know, I've gone back and now I've done my thing for the nuclear issue, and now I can go home and work and raise my son. It just seems so useless to go back and just work unless I'm doing something that gets people thinking. And I realize that's what we have to do. We have to get people thinking.
It's almost like I've set a standard now in my life from being on the march, and the rest of it is going to have to be spectacular too. It's been the most revealing thing in my life, and I'll never be the same. I don't think any of us will ever be the same.
I remember waking up that morning just feeling an incredible amount of joy. I felt like a bird that had been released out into the light, as though we had been in a long, dark tunnel for 9 months. And all of a sudden I felt this incredible freedom flying out into the light. It almost felt like a birth.
product of World War II. I was taught to hate the Germans. I was taught to hate the Japanese. And I went to Japan to fight the Japanese. And then I stayed there for 15 months and found out there were people just like we are. Then after the war, we find out that the Japanese and the Germans are not bad people. But now we're taught to hate the Russians. You know, the Russians are going to come over and take us. You know, just like the Japanese and the Germans were. And in the meantime, we're running this country so far into debt that we're never going to get out of it. And I used to never be able to quite forgive the German people for allowing a guy like Hitler to take over the country and for fascism to take over a country. Now I get scared. We could have fascism here because of the apathy of the people that are enjoying this great country here. And if we don't wake them up, we're going to burn.
There's a lot more at stake here than what I personally think, or what you personally think. You know, the Earth is at stake, and she's screaming.
The same brain that let the nuclear genie out of the bottle most certainly has the capacity to put it back.
Everybody in the world has, so to speak, seen a promised land. Not the promised land, but seen a promised land. They've seen two leaders of the world seriously talk about a world in which there would be no more nuclear arms. Now, I don't think you can get back over the threshold. I think that they walked across that threshold, and my own feelings at this moment, I must confess, are more upbeat than they have been in 15 years.
And I believe that there can't be nuclear disarmament worldwide, and I believe that it just takes enough people to do it. We have to move our governments, like Eisenhower said many years ago. If the government doesn't do it, then the people will have to do it.
It has always been a minority down through the years. The old phrase, yesterday's minority is tomorrow's majority. Eventually, I think more and more people will speak out.
I was in the Bonus March in '32, and then I went in the Hunger March in November and December on the Washington.
We marched down Madison Street to Grant Park one time.
And raised money and so forth the same way. Yeah, been going on for a long time. Got to keep going.